Runs the Kathy Helbig group. She's a realtor expert, and she's ours each and every Thursday. Good morning, Kathy Helbig.
Good morning.
Earnest money. Make some sense out of that for me.
I will try, because that's a very confusing topic for a lot of people. They think they understand it until it comes into play, and then they realize they don't understand it at all.
All right, so I write a $1,000 check to hold my place when I want to buy a house.
Correct. So first off, it shows if you're serious. It also shows to the seller that you have a little bit of expendable money. There's been times when we've had buyers come in and say, can I put zero money down? Can I put a $50 earnest deposit down? And that's a red flag signal immediately to the seller that, gosh, if you can't even come to the table with $50, are you going to be able to scrape together enough money to buy my house?
Okay.
So it's really about intentions and committing yourself to the deal to begin with. But a lot of times people don't really know what is the right amount to put down. So the general rule of thumb is approximately 1% of the purchase price is a good earnest money deposit, a normal earnest money deposit. We've seen people come a little under that. We've seen people go a little above that. Sometimes you come in with a higher deposit to try to sway the seller for multiple offer situations. You come in with a much higher earnest money deposit. But it's really a false safety net, because ultimately, when two parties come to disagreement, I don't care how much money is in earnest, it's not going anywhere until either all the parties agree and sign off onto where it's going, or a court order decides where it's going. So if someone defaults on something, it's not like they'll go, well, that's fine, I'm just going to keep their $5,000 earnest money.
Oh, right.
Well, you might, but it's going to be a while before we get through the red tape for you to get that. And then it's probably going to be a court that decides in your direction or not.
How often does the deal break down where it ends up going to court over the earnest money?
You know, usually people bluff for a while and it ends up not going to court. So what happens is you have two parties that disagree. One wants their money back. The other one's going to play hardball for a while just to make you miserable.
Right.
So they're trying to hold you up from going on to buy another house, or they're trying to hold you from going to sell your house to someone else. So it typically ends up resolved without going to court, but it's not after a lot of sleepless nights and people upset because they can't get their money back because they didn't understand the process to begin with.
So as a realtor, what are you counseling your people when you drop the earnest money?
It depends on if I'm the buyer or the seller. So if I'm representing the buyer, I'm going to try to go in with a fair amount of earnest money. Coming in low actually works against you. But let's not tie up too much money in case we do end up in a horns lock situation.
Right.
And then as the seller, of course, I'd like to see somebody that's putting more money on the line. But again, I'm going to counsel my sellers that don't spend that money. It's not in the bank, because when we have a disagreement, the buyer has to actually sign a mutual release for you to get any of that money.
I would think, though, that once a deal goes sour and there's a fight over the earnest money, once another buyer comes in and the buyer and the seller gets what they were asking for,
then they'll release it immediately because they can't sell it to the next buyer because you're still technically in contract with them. And a lot of people don't understand that earnest money comes off the sale price or comes off your closing costs or down payment. So if a house is $300,000 and you put $1,000 earnest money down, you just have to come up with $299 more. So it's a credit back to you. So you're not just giving that money away.
Very confusing. That's why Kathy Helbig is there to help you every step of the way. How's the market going?
It is crazy, crazy busy right now. So people are putting the houses on their market and they're selling immediately. So do not wait till spring. Spring is now.
And you're still looking for good people?
Absolutely. I've interviewed several. We've got a couple of people starting. We've got experienced agents that we're looking for, and even like transaction type people that don't want to get out and sell but love the real estate industry and want to be a part of it. Call us.
It's a great way to get into the real estate world.
Absolutely.
And your app, I was on your app the other day. That's that's a great app.
Good home search app.
It is a good home search app. Download it at your app store, KathyHelbigGroup.com. Kathy, thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
7:57 traffic weather straight ahead, KTRS.
What would you do if you